Have you ever felt a nagging sense that chasing happiness might be missing something essential? Imagine a life spent pursuing comfort and pleasure, only to wake up wondering if it was all a lie. Nietzsche would call this the last man syndrome, a society content with a dull, risk-free existence, where nobody wants more than to feel safe and satisfied. In this video, we'll explore Nietzsche's shocking claim that power, not happiness, is the true engine of life. We'll journey through the philosophies of Nietzsche, Jung, Kierkegaard, and Camus, and even glance at Eastern wisdom to understand why embracing struggle and growth can give our lives meaning. After watching, ask yourself, do you really want happiness or do you want something stronger? Let us know in the comments below, but for now, let's dive in. Nietzsche famously criticized the modern obsession with happiness. He declared that mankind does not strive for happiness, only the Englishman does, poking fun at utilitarian ideals. For Nietzsche, seeking constant pleasure is a dead end. Instead, he introduced the concept of the will to power, the idea that all life's drive comes from the desire to assert and expand ourselves. He didn't mean raw domination like Napoleon, though that is a crude example. Rather, Nietzsche saw every creative act, every scientific discovery, every personal victory as an expression of power. "This world is the will to power and nothing besides," he wrote. In other words, every time we stretch ourselves mentally, physically, morally, we are living out this fundamental force. Think of great historical figures. Michelangelo toiled for years painting the Sistine Chapel, enduring pain and loneliness, not for comfort, but to realize his vision. Nikola Tesla lived in celibacy and isolation to revolutionize electricity, tormented by loneliness but driven by purpose. These examples echo Nietzsche's point. People who change the world often endure great suffering because they are animated by the will to power, a longing for creation, mastery, or truth that eclipses mere happiness. By contrast, philosophers like Aristotle or many Eastern sages have emphasized eudaimonia, a flourishing life or inner peace, as the highest goal. Aristotle, for instance, taught that happiness, or flourishing, is life's ultimate purpose. Buddhism similarly teaches that attachment to desires, including the desire for pleasure, leads to suffering, promoting instead the calm of detachment. Nietzsche would argue these views appeal to safety, but they may leave us as the last man, comfortable but empty. The last man, he warned, takes no risks and seeks only comfort and security, entirely opposite to the dynamic life of the Übermensch. Nietzsche believed true fulfillment comes not from relaxing in a meadow, but from overcoming obstacles. He argued that happiness is not a worthwhile end in itself. In fact, he described the pursuit of pleasure as a dull waste of human life. Instead, he saw joy in striving, the challenge of self-overcoming. As the stand-up philosophers note, happiness is not achieved through the pursuit of pleasure, but through the expression of the will to power. In practical terms, that means our deepest satisfaction comes from setting goals and conquering them, from growing stronger inside. Even the will to power is not about cruelty or trampling others. Nietzsche clarified that creative and positive expressions of power are best. The thought co-philosopher points out that Nietzsche's idea of power can mean the philosopher and the scientist direct their will to power into a will to truth. Artists channel it into a will to create. Other words, conquering a difficult problem, mastering a skill, or overcoming your own limitations are all exercises of power. Nietzsche even observes that self-overcoming, turning weakness into strength, is one of the purest forms of power. The goal isn't necessarily money or fame, but the inner triumph of turning yourself into something greater. This perspective challenges our usual assumptions. We've been taught that happiness, a life free of pain and full of pleasure, is what we should aim for. But Nietzsche's brutal truth is that such a life is static and sterile. It breeds complacency. The last man lives for a comfortable retirement and leisure. Nietzsche's ideal human, the Übermensch, lives for creativity, struggle, and becoming more than he is. By embracing power in the sense of self-transformation over mere happiness, we keep life meaningful and vibrant. If Nietzsche's view sounds intense, it's because it is intense. But we're not alone in confronting the darkness of life to find meaning. Let's bring Jung, Kierkegaard, and Camus into the conversation. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, taught that our deepest purpose is individuation, becoming our authentic selves. Jung said the only meaningful life is a life that strives for the individual realization of its own particular law. In plain language, he meant each of us must discover and live out our unique potential, even if it goes against the crowd. This process is not easy. It requires facing our inner shadows, the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, and integrating them. That's another form of power, the strength to know yourself fully and shape your own destiny. Jung might argue that chasing fleeting happiness is like chasing shadows. True purpose comes from bringing the unconscious into consciousness and guiding it. Kierkegaard, the Danish existentialist, also emphasized the individual's journey. He spoke of faith as a leap, not necessarily faith in a church, but faith in something greater that gives life meaning. He believed that to live authentically, one must passionately commit to a chosen path, even without rational guarantees. Kierkegaard might say, "Would you rather follow the herd's easy certainties or take a leap into the unknown to pursue your own truth?" This leap of faith is a commitment to power, in a sense, power over your own life direction. It involves risk and courage. You must stand alone in your beliefs and values. Kierkegaard warned that the crowd will call you irrational or arrogant for this, but he celebrated the courage of the individual. In a way, his knight of faith is a figure similar to Nietzsche's Übermensch, someone who creates meaning through sheer will and love of their path. Albert Camus, the French absurdist, teaches us how to handle life's absurdity, the fact that we crave meaning in a silent, indifferent universe. He would likely agree with Nietzsche that we shouldn't pretend life is just about feeling good. In the myth of Sisyphus, Camus argues that we face a choice: accept that life has no ultimate meaning or invent our own meaning. He concludes that living with the absurd means embracing our freedom to create purpose. Camus identifies revolt, freedom, and passion as the hallmarks of the absurd life. Like Nietzsche's vision, Camus finds heroism in struggle. His famous example is Sisyphus eternally pushing the rock uphill. Sisyphus suffers endlessly, but Camus says, we must imagine Sisyphus happy because he chooses to find meaning in his endless task. Combining these views, Jung calls us to integrate and realize our true selves. Kierkegaard calls us to passionately commit beyond reason. Camus calls us to rebel against absurdity with revolt and creativity. Together with Nietzsche, they paint a picture. Meaning comes from transforming ourselves, confronting suffering, and forging our own path. Each demands inner strength. Even Eastern wisdom can echo this theme of power through struggle. Consider the martial arts maxim that true strength is self-mastery. A warrior's greatest victory is the conquest of his own mind. Sun Tzu and Taoist thought teach that the greatest victory is that which requires no battle, implying that wisdom and inner control are superior to brute force. In Buddhism, challenges are not obstacles to happiness, but opportunities for insight and growth. The concept of tapas, or disciplined striving, exists in Hindu yoga and Buddhist practice. In Zen, a famous saying goes, "The obstacle is the path." In other words, the daily struggles and inner challenges are precisely what empower us to grow. Now take a moment to reflect. Which of these philosophies resonates with you? Are you more drawn to avoiding pain or to transcending it? Think about a time you felt proud, not because you were comfortable, but because you overcame something. That pride hints at the power Nietzsche talks about. So how do you live by the will to power in practical terms? It doesn't mean you have to become a tyrant or an overt Machiavellian. It means orienting your life around growth and purpose instead of comfort. Here are some ways: set challenging goals. Choose projects that stretch you, write a book, train for a race, start a difficult creative work, or learn a hard skill. When you accomplish them, the sense of fulfillment comes not from pleasure, but from knowing you pushed your limits. Embrace hardship as fuel. When life knocks you down, get up stronger. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist, argued that even suffering can be meaningful if we give it purpose. In practice, this might mean viewing setbacks as lessons or tests rather than signs of defeat. Nietzsche said that which does not kill us makes us stronger. That's not just a cliche, it's the will to power in action. Cultivate inner discipline. Power over yourself comes from C. LF mastery. This can be as simple as building a daily habit: meditation, exercise, study, and sticking to it even when it's hard. Each time you exert will over comfort, getting up early to write, refusing a second helping of junk food. You strengthen your character. Be creative and assert your values. Use your talents to create something new or to express your vision of the world. Nietzsche praised creativity as a sublimation of the will to power. Maybe you start a community project, write an essay, compose a song. These are ways of exerting influence and leaving a mark. Challenge societal norms. The herd mentality often promotes shallow happiness, chasing the latest trend or numbing distractions. Nietzsche would encourage you to question norms and create your own values. In concrete terms, this could mean rejecting a career track that should make you happy in favor of a riskier path that excites you, even if it's lonely at first. Of course, choosing power over happiness is not easy or painless. It brings real challenges. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and the pain of struggle can be overwhelming. Many people prefer the illusion of safety. We might have internal voices saying, play it safe, or what if you can't handle it? These fears are part of the battle. But recall Camus's revolt, the refusal to surrender to absurdity or comfort. Revulsion towards stagnation can fuel courage. Ethical concerns can also arise. Nietzsche himself warned that power should not mean trampling others. Healthy power, as he envisioned it, often comes through helping or inspiring people, making others feel indebted. Nietzsche argued this is a more human form of power than brute cruelty. So the will to power can and perhaps should include empathy and leadership. Emotionally, this path is intense. You will feel loneliness when others don't share your vision, and tension when you resist the comfort everybody else seeks. You may have moments of doubt. Am I chasing a fantasy? Nietzsche would say doubt is good, it means you're serious about finding your own truth. The crucible of this struggle for power will forge your strength of character. As one Nietzsche biographer puts it, your real self may lie not deep within you, but high above you, something to reach for. In practical living, small steps count. Start by identifying what you truly care about beyond what's safe or popular. Then plan one small act of will tomorrow. Wake up 30 minutes earlier to work on a passion project, say no to something that drains you, or speak up about an idea at work. These acts accumulate power in your life. It's a bit like weightlifting. Tiny stress on a muscle makes it grow stronger. Before we move on, think back to a time you felt truly alive or proud, maybe when you achieved something meaningful or stood up for yourself. That energy you felt was a spark of the will to power. Can you rekindle it? Nietzsche's idea isn't just personal, it has social and cultural implications. Imagine if a whole society lived by the will to power rather than comfort. On one hand, we might see more innovation, creativity, and excellence, people driven to push humanity forward. Great art, science, and culture could flourish as individuals and communities strive for meaningful goals. On the other hand, Nietzsche warned of a different future, the last man, a society satisfied with comfort. If we collectively seek only happiness and security, Nietzsche feared we'd become stagnant and lose our ability to strive. Today we can see echoes of this, a culture obsessed with instant gratification and safety, comfortable entertainment, endless social media scrolls, fear of risk. Nietzsche would say this is a dangerous complacency. Can connect this to politics or economics. Some critics argue that welfare statism or extreme egalitarianism might, in Nietzsche's terms, create a herd that avoids challenges. Conversely, a Nietzschean view might suggest encouraging personal excellence and responsibility. Of course, Nietzsche himself was not a simple champion of selfishness. He critiqued the morality of the herd too. Culturally, this tension appears in the way we talk about success. Many people today say, "I just want to be happy." Nietzsche would counter, "I want you to thrive, to be your own master, even if that means hardship." To achieve that, he even proposed the thought experiment of eternal recurrence. Would you be willing to live this life with all its pain over and over for eternity? If not, something must change. Embracing power means answering yes to life's challenges, a sort of radical amor fati, or love of fate. Nietzsche's call to power also intersects with other existential questions. If you discard the idea that life's meaning is given from without by God or fate, then you must create it yourself. This is a heavy responsibility, but also liberating. It means you are not here to passively consume happiness, you are here to create meaning. That could be through building community, innovating technology, or mastering your inner world. It's worth noting, seeking power doesn't guarantee conventional success. Some people who intensely pursued their own path failed in society's eyes. But Nietzsche's point is deeper, they lived more fully. And sometimes their ideas do ripple out. Think of Vincent van Gogh, who was unrecognized in life but powered by his inner vision. For further exploration, consider reading Thus Spoke Zarathustra, where Nietzsche dramatizes this message in poetic style, or The Myth of Sisyphus by Camus for another take on living bravely in an absurd world. Jung's Memories, Dreams, Reflections delves into inner transformation, and Kierkegaard's Sickness unto Death and Fear and Trembling explore the self and faith. Eastern texts like the Tao Te Ching or works on Zen and martial arts also echo themes of mastery and purposeful action. To recap, Nietzsche's brutal truth is that life is not about skimming on pleasure, but about overcoming, becoming stronger, wiser, and more creative. Happiness is often the byproduct of meaningful struggle, not the goal itself. By shifting our focus from comfort to growth, we unlock a vitality that bland happiness can't match. So here's a final question to leave you with. Will you live as the last man, content with ease and small pleasures, or will you embrace your will to power and strive for something greater? Remember Nietzsche's words, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more." Would you be proud to repeat it as is, or will you use your power to change it? If this video gave you something to think about, share your thoughts below. Are there ways you're going to seek power instead of happiness? And if this sparked ideas for another topic, let me know. If you like this exploration, please like and subscribe and hit the bell to join a community that dares to ask deep questions. Thank you for watching. May you pursue the power to become your greatest self, whatever that may hold.